So as you know, the PlayStation Vita Slim is the current PlayStation Vita that you can go ahead and get in the market for $200, right? But if you're able to somehow find the original PlayStation Vita, or you're just curious to see what's the big difference between both models, well, this video is going to go ahead and answer as much questions as possible about that. Just go ahead and start with just the model and aesthetics of the PlayStation Vita and the Slim. I have it right here. And one thing you will notice, especially if you're able to find the 3G model, which Sony has canned out because it never really sold that well. The 3G model is the heaviest one, then the Wi-Fi, and then the PlayStation Vita Slim, right? So comparing with the Wi-Fi, PlayStation Original, and this one is that the material for the Slim, you can feel is a little bit more cheaper, which then is cost efficient for Sony though. But what I do notice is that it's easier to get scratches. I'm not sure if this happened to you though, but on my current PlayStation Vita, it's more heavier, but it's more durable, and I feel that the material is much more, resistance. I've dropped it, I'll admit it, I've dropped it, but when it does, it doesn't get those immediate scratches or anything like that, which I think it's way better. So, and one of the things I also do like about the original one, I just feel like the buttons are a little bit more spaced out. The shoulder buttons are much more comfortable as opposed to the PlayStation Vita Slim. I feel that in the Slim, it's a little bit more smaller though. It has more of a cheaper material, which makes it cheap. But it's not to say that it just sucks overall. But I personally like the material and how it feels of the original PlayStation Vita than the new Slim. But it's not to say that the Slim sucks. Another cool thing about the original one, which we have noticed, is that the original PlayStation Vita has an OLED screen. What this means is that the colors are more vibrant, they stand out more, and the graphics look a little bit more better. The video of this doesn't do justice of the OLED. You actually have to kind of go ahead and play it yourself though. But trust me, the OLED looks way more amazing than the LCD. But there's a price to that. That means that the battery lasts a little bit more longer on the Slim because it doesn't use the OLED, which means that roughly around just gaming on the original PlayStation Vita, I've gotten around 4 to 5 hours, roughly average, on the OLED, right, on like low settings. But also with the same thing on the PlayStation Vita Slim, I've been able to get around 5 to 6 hours on just like low brightness and all. So there's a roughly around an hour difference from the OLED. It looks way better, it looks prettier, but it's going to cost you around an hour of battery power. Now, if you're planning on going on the go and you want to play your PlayStation Vita, obviously you would want a battery that lasts longer as opposed to the prettiness. But if you're someone that doesn't really care about that, you just want to look at the aesthetics of it, then the original one is the way to go. Now, on the back, it's roughly the same thing. Right here where you have the two, where you would essentially rest your fingers, it's a little bit more bigger on the PlayStation Vita. It's cool that it's there. I don't really feel like it's 100% difference, like it really is like a rest or anything like that. Obviously, I don't really like to use the rear touchpad, but in some games, especially if you're using remote play, it's something you need. Another difference of the PlayStation Vita original, it has the second port right next to the gaming port. Now, it really never has been utilized by anything Sony that's made maybe an accessory. People were thinking some sort of like attachment or a capture card, or something to connect to the TV, something like that. Sony has never really done anything with it, so on the PlayStation Vita Slim, they decided to go ahead and remove it because I felt that there's I don't really feel like we're going to do anything with it. But in case that, for whatever reason, Sony does do that, that would be the port where you would go ahead and attach it. The PlayStation Vita does have a 1 GB internal memory, as opposed to the original PlayStation Vita does not. You need a memory stick to go ahead and save. You cannot save your save data onto the game cartridge. You actually have to go ahead and buy a memory stick. And the prices have actually come down a little bit. An 8 GB is roughly around $20. It used to be a 4 GB was 20, 8 was 30. So the price have come a little bit more. Now I do suggest, if you do have the money or are able to find a clearance or a deal, that the bigger the storage, the better to go. Just because for myself, I don't like to switch from one 8 gig memory stick to another 4 gig because it seems like a hassle. And you just want to go ahead and have it all cluttered into one memory stick, making it easier to go ahead and find your games and all that. So if you do see yourself like I use my PlayStation Vita a lot, the bigger the memory stick would be better if you can afford it. Now, 1 gig will get you roughly around a PlayStation Network title game, 600, 700 megabytes. If you want to play something like Uncharted Golden Abyss, you will need like a 2 or 4 gigabyte. So it all depends on the size game. So the bigger, Killzone Mercenary, it's like more than almost around 3 gigabytes. With the updates, it makes it 4. So I personally like to buy my games physically as opposed to game downloads. But if a PlayStation Network, through crossplay or something, the bigger the memory stick, so I can kind of, save it all, is the way to go. But overall, both PlayStation Vitas play PlayStation Network games, PlayStation 1 classics, PlayStation Vita. Pretty much, they're the same thing. The only difference is the aesthetic of it. It's not a huge difference between the original and the PlayStation Vita Slim. More than anything, it's just the material. The buttons are a little bit more smaller in the Slim, the OLED, the LCD, stuff like that. Now, if you're able, it just depends on your preference. If you want something that has more of a durability, more heavier, has the OLED, and has shoulder buttons that I personally like better than the Slim, then I say go with that one. But if you like something that feels much more lighter, it's a longer battery and an internal gigabyte, then the PlayStation Vita is the way to go. So I feel that the Slim is going to be here for now. So if you're able to find the other one, then sweet. But if not, the Slim, either way, I still love the Slim. And that kind of does the versus. If you like this video and would like more PlayStation Vita, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation 4 gameplays and videos and all that by yours truly, make sure to give this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.